Diolch, Llywyd. How will the Welsh Government respond to the threat posed by species decline?
Thank you. I am gravely concerned about the global loss of biodiversity. The legislation we've introduced requires all public bodies, including Welsh ministers, to proactively maintain and enhance biodiversity through the decisions they make. We also provide financial and practical support to community groups to take action in their local area.
This month's UN report on species decline will hopefully be a wake-up call for leaders right across the world. 1 million species may be pushed to extinction in the next few years. Unless we take drastic action, we, as a human species, are going to follow them. This isn't a faraway problem, for we've seen the same trends here in Wales. The State of Nature report reveals that in Wales, 1 in 14 species is heading for extinction. 57% of wild plants, 60% of butterflies and 40% of birds are in decline. The State of Birds in Wales report 2018 highlighted that almost a third of birds in Wales are declining significantly. The picture isn't any rosier for fish stocks, as many species such as salmon, sea trout and suin are all at risk all over Wales. Now, I welcome the declaration of a climate emergency by this government, but I cannot reconcile this position with the First Minister's assertion that it did not represent, and I quote, a sharp difference in policy. Was that declaration a PR stunt? And more importantly, is your First Minister, and indeed this government as a whole, not paying attention to the warning signs?
Absolutely not. I think the First Minister, from the day he came into post back in December, has made it very clear that biodiversity and climate change mitigation is absolutely one of his top priorities. We all have to look at biodiversity right across government in relation to our policies. You're absolutely right. That report last week was hugely concerning. I was saying in my answer to Joyce Watson that it certainly is very sobering reading. You'll be aware that we have the low carbon delivery plan, again the First Minister launched back in March, and the proposals and policies, there's 100 policies and proposals in that if we implement will make great strides in relation to biodiversity and climate change. And I was saying that I think biodiversity is as much of a threat as climate change. It's right up there. You'll also be aware that myself and my Scottish counterparts and UK government counterparts asked the UK Climate Change Commission for some advice on the back of the Intergovernmental Panel report into whether we would reach the levels required by the Paris Agreement. I received that advice a week last Thursday. I've met with the UK CCC, some of the members, on 2 occasions in the past fortnight. Officials are now digesting that advice. It's about 300 pages. To see whether we do need to change our policies. But you will appreciate the low carbon delivery plan was only launched in March, and I think we need to carry on with those policies and proposals. But it could be that we need to change. The declaration, I think, was a very positive and strong declaration. I think you can only use the word emergency very sparingly. It's not a word that you can throw around. So there's a great deal of thought went into that, and I was very pleased that this Parliament voted then to be the first. We were the first Parliament in the world to endorse that climate change emergency. So there's a huge amount of work to do. We need to check all our policies and proposals, but I do think we need to start with that low carbon delivery plan, ensure that we take that forward. But it is absolutely something that we're all looking at across government.